Alright guys, today we are gonna be reacting to Andrew versus woke feminist who discriminates men at work. Let's jump in.
As a polyamorous, disabled, queer woman who used to run an all-queer honey group.
Indeed, I did.
And you have so many stories. First off, what is a honey group? What is that?
That was what they cumulatively named it. It was just that like the girls did not feel safe whenever cis men were in the group because a lot of them had trauma. I had a bunch of friends that I've never been like a dancer like these lovely gals have. Love that. Could never personally because like I just don't think that I could handle it. But I was a go-go dancer. I met a bunch of girls that wanted like a community of queer women to hang out with, and
so like a meetup
so they just
group.
chose it. Yeah,
meetup group. You guys had a group. How many people were in the group? Queer honey bunny group.
I think the most that were ever in the group was 45.
45. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned something there that I kind of took a note on. You said that a lot of these women, they had trauma with cis men. So cis men were not obviously allowed to join the group. That's my understanding. Do you think that this is granting that they had this trauma, these poor experiences with cis men, which by the way, well, that's a whole nother, I'll save the cis conversation for later, I guess, but do you think that this is a sexist position to hold?
I think it could be. I think that just in my position, it was asked of me that cis men were not included because it was to find other queer women to hang out with. Like, I don't think that all spaces need to include everyone.
Yeah, sure. I don't think, I think you could, for example, want to like associate with people of a certain group. You're not necessarily trying to preclude other people, but the justification for precluding other people seems to be, I had one, two, or perhaps multiple poor experiences with cis men, ergo.
It wasn't just personal experiences. It was just like the way.
Well, that's the first thing you said. So.
Yes, they've had a lot of them did, but I'm just saying it's not all just personal experience of like a trauma happened to me, but just like movies portray men in dark shadows. Like if you want to go that deep of like not feeling safe in a group, like this group was meant for like women to come and have pool parties, and we hosted going to queer clubs, and I just don't think that number one would have fit in this space anyways, but also with the majority of women in my group, and by majority I mean like everyone but maybe one, stating that they would not have felt safe to fully be themselves in that environment if a cis man was there. That speaks volumes to me, and I didn't need to make a decision. Would
you be fine like with establishments also doing these kind of exclusions like a business, for example?
I think that's harder. I think like how do you...
Like what about an all-female gym and they're like, hey, we acknowledge that women have had poor experiences with men, so we're going to like exclude men from joining this gym, and it's going to be an all-women gym. Like, would you be okay with that, or...?
I don't think it's like any of my business to say whether you can do it or not, but I think if I were the business owner, I don't know how you would pull something like that off and still be inclusive.
Like legally?
Not legally,
speaking,
just like respectfully on like if someone comes into a gym and you bring in, like you're bringing in all kinds of conversations, like a trans woman comes in, like how do you define who a trans woman is if they say they're a trans woman?
Sure. I work at a woman's gym.
What?
I work at a woman's gym.
Yeah, see, I think it can be done.
I just women at ours.
Right, so I'm just going to go ahead and grant that if you were to start a business, you'd be allowed to have trans women. I'm speaking about, I personally don't like this term, but cis men.
Oh yeah, I think that's fine. Why would it not be fine?
For the business to exclude cis men?
Yeah.
Okay. And you... So
I think it is a huge mistake using their language, because by you using the language, you're admitting they have some meaning. You see what I'm saying? You using their language, their own language, like cis man. I don't even know what cis man is. Like, what is it? It's a straight man, or what is it? It sounds like a cop out to have some kind of wiggle room to just create a Pandora box of problems. I would not use that term. I think by him, Brian, using that terminology, I think he's in the losing position, guys.
Similarly then, I assume you'd be fine with like businesses excluding cis women, like banning them from being able to enter businesses and establishments?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So you're like in favor of segregation?
What about gay men?
Say that again?
What about gay men?
Again, you're coming down to like, how are you going to define, like weren't all queer clubs supposed to be just for queer people, but straight men still go in to vet women?
Well, here, I'll define it pretty easily. If you're a part of a same-sex relationship and you're a male, you can't join our
Thank you
gym.
for mansplaining that to me.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
You need
like,
it,
so
man.
much.
How do you?
It filled
Well, I don't
my soul.
understand. How do you say it depends on your definition, and then when I give you the definition, you call it mansplaining?
No, I'm
Can you
saying
explain
like
that? Can you
I'm
womansplain
saying
that? for me?
as a business owner, when someone's coming to your door, and you're gonna turn them away like based on XYZ, like that's
Did you
just
want the
cornering
definition,
someone
or
into
did you want to
agreeing
keep
that they're
spurting
down
out?
for segregation.
I mean, I'm happy to give you the definition that you asked for. So the definition would be.
Yeah, I told you guys.
two
I told
males.
you that she was a demon. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you, I have a good smell for that stuff, man. She's currently, she knows what type of man Andrew is. And Andrew threw it back on her. Thank you so much for woman-explaining me that. You know, because in reality, mansplaining is basically the female nature of telling you, man, you're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. Let me explain it to you. That's what it is. It's the female lens of what females think when you don't know what you're talking about. So they call it mansplaining, but in reality it's female-splaining.
Who are same sex.
For sure.
And they only have sex with males. You call them homosexuals, and you want to ban them from the business. There you go. There's your definition. I'm sorry that I had to mansplain that for you, giving you the definition that you asked for. But there you go.
If cumulatively gay men, which I'm not saying they have or will, created an unsafe environment for the other people who wanted to be in that business, then I would agree with it.
So if straight heterosexual cis males said nobody except straight heterosexual cis males can come to this gym, you would agree with that?
Yes, wasn't that what you just asked me?
Well, I'm just clarifying. I just wanted a yes or no. So I mean, so as long as you're fine with that, then the inclusivity portion of this, if men wanted to have a gym that was only exclusive to heteronormative behavior, you wouldn't actually have an issue with that. Just want to be clear.
I think that that's cornering someone into an answer that's super controversial.
Nah, Jesse. There you go. In the last episode, they already know what is her worldview. That's why they asking these questions. They want to destroy it. And I know where Andrew's going with this.
To like, what is the cause? I mean, what is the reason? Is it for safety?
Because they don't want them there.
Is it for safety?
No, they don't want them
to
there.
be an
I mean,
asshole?
Sure. Just dealing with them could potentially create an unsafe situation for both parties, right? Like if you were a bigot, like just think about this logically. Let's say that they were all just bigots. They just didn't like them because they were homosexuals. How would that not create an unsafe situation by letting them in to begin with?
I just don't think that you can cumulatively have that many people unless you're like exclusively asking for it to be invited into a space. Like you're assuming that every man in a gym.
That chat is going crazy. There's some good stuff here. Matt said, "Let's see what this liberal says. If God forbid, a Caucasian man wanted a Caucasian male only club, then her tune will change." True. There's
like
another one.
You're assuming that every.
Sure, one is the exact reason women shouldn't have the power to vote. Right here. And I have to agree with her. This is the reason. You see how illogical these things are. And they're very quick to just pull the shame card and the guilt card right away. That's a language, guys. It's female nature in a very toxic, realm. Toxic masculinity is basically toxic femininity. They just put a cap on top of it and just throw it to the man. But it's basically female toxicity. Remember, guys, when they say toxic masculinity, what they're referring is their own nature to be toxic. But it's just projection. Right? You have to flip it. You have to flip it to understand.
Every man in a gym is going to be a bigot, or are you just saying that there's a bigot gym?
Well, no, I'm saying that let's say there's a gym which is bigoted on purpose because that's what they want. Right?
Yeah, that's the part that I have an issue.
They only want bigoted people to come to this gym. That's the only thing that they care about. Is that you're what you would consider to be a bigot. They only want heteronormative, cis, straight men in the gym. And
sure.
So that's it. Okay, so if that was the case and all of the men who are joining that gym have the same type of ideology, wouldn't it necessarily follow that it would be unsafe for somebody who didn't follow that suit, that they would be unsafe just by trying to join it?
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, like, if they all want to meet up in one space and have that opinion for themselves.
Come on, Andrew, you got this, man.
I don't want to be there, so.
Yeah, you got this, Brian. Oh man,
things,
he got he got this. He got this guy. He got this. He wanna hear from her own mouth. He wants to basically hear what we know, that she's a misandrist. That's why he's trying to get that from her.
A couple clarifying things, I guess. Would you? It sounds like you're kind of okay with people like business owners being able to like discriminate. Is that a fair?
To discriminate? No. To create safe environments? Yes.
Okay. So like
the same thing.
And so this for gender, you think this is fair play, correct?
Can I ask you a question, a follow-up question? Can I answer your question with a question? Because you seem
No.
to
How about answer my question, then you can ask me a question, and I'll answer.
There we go. Nice job.
Is there a reason why?
There you go. Nice job. Answering a question with a question is basically just taking control of the conversation.
Trying to corner me into having a negative answer? Because you did it at the beginning of our conversation too.
How is it cornering you? And what do you mean by negative answer?
Because every time I answer it
means.
with like a logical standpoint of like women should all cumulatively be able to feel safe in an environment. And if we require being only with women, then isn't that just for safety? Like, I don't understand the issue.
Oh, okay,
because
for safety.
He's testing the supposition.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I'm not sure what you mean by cornering, but.
No, I just mean like every time I have a logical answer, there's
Come
a
on,
follow-up question with it.
Brian.
When people
The
make
word segregation put into it.
when people make or have inductive reasoning, which you're using right now, which is fine, right? That's most of the reasoning that most people use is inductive. Most of the time it's not tested, but most inductive reasoning is based around suppositions and suppositions which people hold. So all that's happening when you say, why are you trying to corner me into a negative answer? That's the opposite
No, I
of
said
what's
it like
happening.
I just want to know
Hang
if
on,
there was
hang
a
on.
reason.
That's hang on, almost done. That's the opposite of what's happening. He's trying to corner you into an answer, whether it's negative or positive. It's totally irrelevant. Just trying to see where the inductive reasoning
Yeah, I'm
follows.
telling you.
Great.
But so I think I was asking a question there. It sounded like you didn't want to answer it unless you do.
Like, am I fine with businesses choosing who they want to do business for? Yes.
Okay, you're fine with that. So like, for example, and you said for safety reasons, like that's enough justification for like wanting to preclude people from being able to participate in your business? Can you stop? Able to participate in your business? Can you stop?
Sure.
Okay, so if like a cohort or group of like white people, for example, felt unsafe around black people because they had anecdotal, like they had their own poor experiences that came down to safety when it came to like actual experiences with black people, and they said, I don't want to allow black people into my businesses, you'd be okay with that?
Morally okay with it? No. Do I think
Well,
that
what's the
it could
difference?
happen? Law and morals are very different.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Why would it be immoral, though?
Dang, there we go.
What do you mean?
There we go.
Why would that be
I
immoral?
mean, I was literally told I was not allowed to say certain words, so.
Oh, well, I mean, it's more so like there's certain
Oh,
topics.
she deviated the conversation. Brian, you have to wake up on this, man. She's deviating the conversation. She's escaping the answer. That was a great question.
We have
Great
to
question.
avoid, but like we can talk about racism. We just don't want you to be racist on the show,
Understood.
if that makes sense.
She's racist.
why-
She's racist. In my opinion, if you already have that that notion or pre-notion, right, or beforehand of talking about this, but there's a racist component to this, you're already in that box. Nobody is thinking about racism right now. We're just talking about logical topics. That's it. No judgmental. Just getting the information and just having debates.
I'm just wondering why.
Like we don't want you to use slurs or like say the N-word or like that sort of stuff. So
For sure. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, deviation.
Oh yeah, no problem. So I understand too, when you have a video link like this, it's difficult sometimes when you have a room full of people to communicate back and forth. So that's actually a problem I have too. But my question was, why would that be actually a moral quandary for you? If you don't have any actual issues with it as a matter of law, let's say, why would it actually stand as a moral quandary?
Because there's a racial issue there.
well, wouldn't it be like a gender or sex issue then?
For sure. But what you're saying is like,
Yeah, Brian, you're not doing a favor. I know Andrew wanna get her, but he has to calm down.
We have quantified proof. We have quantified evidence. I'm putting this evidence in front of you.
See, Matt knows it. Never trust a liberal. Safe space. It's their way of discriminating against those they don't agree with. Sneaky being liberals are watch out for them changing definition of word. That's exactly what I said, guys. That's exactly what I said. It's the way of them using these kind of languages to just, follow through their own agenda.
View of why black people have made this group of white people feel unsafe, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you open up your viewpoint and you look at the masses? What if you say, instead of looking at this group of people that chose it, scientifically, you can't just hand pick which group you want to use as a control, right? So if you're looking at everyone in the United States, for example, that's not the popular opinion. So then
Yeah, but
I would say that that's not, I don't morally agree with that.
This would be counter to intersectionality, though, because intersectionality is literally making all of these groups into micro groups as controls, just so that they can test for such offenses. So if that is the case,
yeah, but in this hypothetical, we're referring to people who know each other, right?
As we're having this conversation, I couldn't actually think of a way that you could create controls better than to take micro groups and then apply whatever the idea of social injustice that particular group has, and then follow it to its conclusion, essentially. Like, how else could you even do that as a control?
By choosing controls that don't know each other. Because in the hypothetical is that this group of people got together, which means they know each other.
Well, let's say they didn't get together, right? But they all had kind of something of the same shared experience, and they all wanted to get together. Like, it seems like it's kind of a silly distinction without merit, right?
Not necessarily if you're asking me how to find a control. That's going back to the other conversation, right?
Yeah. But I mean, even this, if we had this as a control, we could just factor in whatever control you wanted to. It still wouldn't really get to the heart of the moral quandary. If one race or another race says they feel discriminated against based on A, B, C, and D,
it's opinion based. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I totally hear your opinion. I hear you. However, I think like when you're getting down to like morality, I don't think that anything should be separated. I don't think that anyone should fear for their life when they walk or roll down the street. I don't think that, any of this should be a topic of conversation, because nobody should be put in a position where they have to choose. But we have.
Yeah, but what you're going off of isn't even brute facts. It's just feelings, right? So you're going off the idea people feel unsafe. They feel like bad things going to happen, even if there is actually no kind of statistical data to back that up. But that's a double-edged sword. Why couldn't the other group say the exact same thing in opposition?
I didn't say that they couldn't.
This makes us feel unsafe. This makes us feel discriminated against, et cetera, et cetera. It'd be the same exact thing.
For sure. I hear what you're saying. However, again, it comes down to like history and facts. And whenever you add the two together, I create emotion. You create emotion. Emotions don't just fly at you and hit you in the head. Like, they come from a place based in fact, based in history.
But
whether
no,
that's yesterday
don't come
or
from a place based in fact. That's absurd.
No, I'm saying you don't just get an emotion because it whacks you in the head. It comes from somewhere. You have something that influences you, and then you have an emotion. I'm just saying.
Or you have nothing that influences you and you have an emotion, because biology is strange, right? So it's like even that statement in and of itself is kind of silly. But if you were to back it up, right, and look at because what you're saying is, let's look at the macro versus the micro. I think that's fair. Right. I think that's fair to say. I want to look at kind of the entire picture instead of the micro picture. Mm-hmm. But the only way to get a clear picture of the macro would be for you to use intersectional logic, right? Mm-hmm. So you would have to come in and say this group and this group and this group. Even, in fact, when you even reference historical standards, you could only apply them through the prism of the group. That would be like feminist standpoint theory, for instance. Feminists say, well, history should be revised through the lens of women. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, how could you really know what their lived experience was? But wouldn't that be the same case with any group?
I mean, I guess it could be. It just comes down to when you're asking my opinion, I base it off of supporting what has happened. Again, you can go down to intersectionality and crossover and this and that. And for each and every scenario that you could come up with, I'm going to tell you, like, if it creates a safe environment where there already was not one, more power to you. Do I want to be a part of all of those situations? Most likely not.
But would you only, my follow-up question to this then is, would you only base that around how people felt, if they felt safe,
No.
versus if there was an objective standard
No,
for
and that's
being
why I
safe?
was saying, like, I understand
So
what
then
you're
if
saying.
you
Like,
were to say, okay, so if that's the case, then if there were such a discriminatory gym, let's say, who only discriminated against people who were LGBTQ in this particular instance, and the LGBTQ people felt unsafe due to that, however, the brute fact was not that they were actually unsafe, then who do we side with there?
I don't think you side with anyone. I think that's
You don't think so?
just, listen, to side.
Yo, she has a huge problem to just with. She's a person that is trying not to say the wrong thing. Like, she's probably in a very toxic group as well, where they will eat each other, kind of a thing. She's being very careful.
With one side on any situation you can give me, I don't agree with. I think that you should put yourself in each and everyone's shoes. Not to say I could ever actually know what that person is going through, but the only way we're going to find any kind of unity, any kind of, level common ground, is by trying to start to understand other people's lived experiences.
Yeah, sure, but what if you do understand their lived experience?
I don't
But
think you can
say,
truly
even
understand.
even based on your lived experience and what you're telling me from your emotional standpoint, still reject it because applied in the real world doesn't make any sense, or it's silly, or I just have a fundamental disagreement with it. The idea that you can just kind of partake in someone's shoes and then through an empathetic link discover that you have more shared in common than not, I think that there's some possibility there. However, I also think that there's good logical refutations that you can make for why you should often ignore the empathetic experience and ignore why it is that people want you to walk a mile in their shoes. It's often detrimental to you to do so, right?
That's your opinion.
You don't think so?
I think that it could be in a scenario if you gave them one I agreed with, but I can't just blanketly agree with a vague scenario.
Yeah, see, she's trying to be careful because, oh my God, she's trying to be careful here, man. I mean, she's part of these groups. They will eat her alive, man. I'm telling you. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you next one.